When asked, most people might point to the Battle of Little Bighorn as the most devastating defeat of U.S. forces by Native Americans. But they'd be mistaken. Strangely enough, the most crushing loss in U.S. military history against Native forces isn't widely remembered and lacks a famous name. It's simply known as St. Clair's defeat or the Battle of the Wabash. Even before American independence, the Great Lakes region was already a volatile hotspot. British and French conflicts over the lucrative fur trade frequently intruded into native territories, forcing tribes into alliances, some siding with the French, others with the British. The conclusion of the American Revolution brought new tensions as the 1783 Treaty of Paris granted the newly formed United States control over land east of the Mississippi River and south of the Great Lakes. However, the native tribes, who had not been party to this agreement, didn't see it that way. By 1783, several influential tribes, including the Cherokee, Iroquois, Delaware, Miami, Ottawa, Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Shawnee, Wabash, and Wyandot nations, united to form the Northwestern Native Confederacy. Prominent leaders, such as Little Turtle of the Miami Nation and Blue Jacket of the Shawnee, firmly opposed American claims to the land northwest of the Ohio River. Determined to defend their homeland, these leaders and their people would soon engage in one of the most significant yet lesser-known conflicts in American history. We'll dive deeper into the story in just a moment, but first, a big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. NordVPN is a virtual private network service that secures your internet connection and safeguards your privacy online. By encrypting your data and masking your IP address, NordVPN ensures your information stays protected, especially when you're connected to public Wi-Fi, where cyber threats are more common. It even conceals your location, opening up access to content worldwide. For instance, Netflix offers different shows and movies in various countries, and with NordVPN, you can watch any title, anywhere you are. So, even if you're traveling, you can keep up with your favorite shows. Just connect to NordVPN and enjoy unrestricted streaming. NordVPN is a top player in the VPN industry, offering fast connections and affordable plans. It's user-friendly and allows you to connect up to 6 devices with one account, providing security for you and your whole family. Click the link in the description to explore NordVPN's current offer. Save up to 65% and enjoy for extra months free. Don't miss out. It's a limited-time deal. Now, back to the story. Despite the Treaty of Paris in 1783, the British refused to fully withdraw from the region, violating the peace terms by keeping their trading posts active and continuing to arm native tribes. This support intensified native resistance against American settlers and complicated the already tense situation in the Northwest. After the Treaty of Paris, eager settlers and land speculators set their sights on the fertile lands of Ohio. Yet, as American expansion pushed westward through the mid and late 1780s, a cycle of violence between native tribes and settlers threatened this vision. Despite deploying regulars, militias, and volunteer forces to secure the Northwest Territory, American forces struggled to achieve decisive victories over native resistance. In 1790, President George Washington ordered an expedition led by Brigadier General Josiah Harmar to put an end to the Miami raids orchestrated by Chief Little Turtle. On October 7th, a force of 1,453 men, a mix of militia and regulars, marched north from Fort Washington. Less than 2 weeks later, they were ambushed by around 1,000 warriors of the Northwestern Confederacy near Kikonga and Fort Miami, modern-day Fort Wayne, Indiana. The Americans suffered severe losses, with 262 killed, 106 wounded, and a third of their horses lost. Harmar's forces were forced to retreat, while the Confederacy sustained an estimated 120 to 150 casualties. In 1791, determined to subdue native resistance, President Washington dispatched General Arthur St. Clair with 1,400 soldiers on a new campaign. Departing from Fort Washington, near present-day Cincinnati, St. Clair's men faced brutal conditions, desertions, freezing temperatures, and constant supply shortages. By the time they reached the banks of the Wabash River on November 3rd, the troops were weakened and demoralized. St. Clair established a camp on a high ridge near the river's headwaters, unaware that a force of 1,100 native warriors led by chiefs Little Turtle and Blue Jacket had surrounded them. At dawn, while the Americans prepared breakfast, the native warriors launched a surprise attack. The Miami, Shawnee, and Lenape forces hit the militia first, sending them fleeing unarmed through the main camp. The regulars scrambled to form lines, firing volleys to push back the attackers. St. Clair, under relentless fire, led a bayonet charge, narrowly escaping death as 2 horses were shot from under him. He suffered multiple bullet holes through his clothing, and a shot grazed his hair. Despite the artillery's efforts, the cannons were ineffective, aimed too high to impact the native forces. The artillerymen engaged in hand-to-hand combat until most were killed. Major General Richard Butler, in command of the Levy Regiment, was gravely wounded and died in his tent. He was the first of 4 American generals to lose his life in the native wars. As the battle intensified, native forces flanked the American left and right wings, closing in on the main camp and fully encircling it within 30 minutes. By then, St. Clair's 1,100 men were trapped. After 3 hours of relentless fighting, St. Clair convened his remaining officers. Faced with certain annihilation, he led a desperate bayonet charge to break free. Supplies and the wounded were left behind as they escaped. Little Turtle's forces allowed them to pass, but they were not yet free from danger. A Pennsylvania detachment led by Major John Clark provided a rear guard, but when Clark was injured, the defense crumbled. The retreat turned into a chaotic rout, and St. Clair later described the rout as littered with discarded weapons, ammunition, and uniforms as soldiers abandoned anything that slowed them down. Private Stephen Little, who got separated from the main group, unknowingly returned to the abandoned camp. He discovered that native forces had pursued the fleeing soldiers, but left some wounded behind. The remaining wounded begged him for mercy, fearing they would be discovered. Little hid under a tree and later witnessed the native warriors return to the camp, where they divided the remaining supplies, ate abandoned food, and tragically took the lives of those 2 injured to flee. Those who escaped finally reached the safety of Fort Jefferson later that day. Aftermath. The Battle of the Wabash stands as one of the most devastating defeats in U.S. military history. With nearly 85% of St. Clair's forces lost, this battle resulted in the highest casualty rate ever suffered by U.S. troops in a single engagement. Of the 1,400 soldiers, including regulars, levies, and militia, 918 were killed, and 276 were wounded. This staggering toll nearly wiped out a quarter of the entire U.S. Army at the time, as the young nation struggled to establish its presence in the Northwest Territory. The battle's aftermath was felt far beyond the battlefield. The defeat had a profound impact on public opinion, deeply shaking confidence in the government's ability to protect its citizens on the frontier. Calls for accountability surged, leading to the first congressional investigation in U.S. history, which scrutinized St. Clair's leadership and questioned the Army's preparedness, supplies, and training. President George Washington himself was angered and disappointed, reflecting on the heavy losses and the morale crisis this defeat caused within the ranks of the fledgling American military. For the Native American tribes of the Northwestern Confederacy, the victory reinforced their resistance to American expansion into their homelands. Leaders such as Little Turtle and Blue Jacket became legendary figures, known for their strategic prowess and bravery. This triumph further united various tribes in the region, as they sought to protect their lands and way of life from encroaching settlers. The battle also underscored the importance of native alliances and collective resistance against foreign powers, strengthening their unity in the face of future conflicts. In response to this monumental loss, the U.S. government reevaluated its approach to the Northwest Territory. The military reforms that followed led to the establishment of a stronger, more organized standing army, paving the way for the formation of the Legion of the United States under General Mad Anthony Wayne. These changes marked a turning point in U.S. military structure and tactics, shaping future engagements on the frontier. The legacy of the Battle of the Wabash serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by early American forces and the fierce resistance mounted by native nations determined to defend their lands. Thank you for watching the video until the end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any new videos from us. What do you think about today's topic? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found the video helpful, feel free to share it with your friends and family. We hope you had a great time. See you in the next video with even more exciting content. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out.